Alright, this is the video for the last part of the test. This is Module 7, Part 3, Factoring Trinomials. Trinomials, something with 3 terms here. Just a reminder of the grid things here. So if we have a square, that's going to make the one rectangle across the top. And the rectangles, that's the width of the little squares. So this is 1x plus 3, because there's 3 here. And down the side here, we've got 1x. And as these are a different color, the darker color, that would make this negative, so negative 2. If you're working out the area, you would look at this part here, 1 square, so 1x squared, positive 3 and negative 2. When you do positive 3 add negative 2, it gives you just 1, so that's plus 1x. And then 6 little squares at the bottom, also shaded in, so that makes these negative as well. So just a little reminder on how the tiles work. We're not really going to be using the tiles very much. What are the factors of each quadratic? Use your answers on slide 21. So slide 21, we have all the questions here around the side that start with the x squared, and then we've got to match the factors up with that go with them. So if I click on one at a time, this was one of the questions. All you're looking for, remember, is you're going to start by looking for those x-intercepts. So 4 and 7, but then do the opposite. So this would be x minus 4 and x minus 7. So let's see if we can find that question. There we go. There's my x minus 7, and there's my x minus 4. Whoops, is it going to let us join them all together? There we go. Now, often on these, the next card will be you can do the little check. So let's just check, did we have 3 out of 3? There we go, we got 3 correct. So we know that we've started correct on this. And I'm going to pick one. See, this technically we shouldn't have called the unit trinomials, because sometimes we just have 2 terms, like this one here. So let me just click on this one, just so we can see that one. Ooh, let me switch that other term off, though. So this one would be negative 8 and positive 8, and do the opposites. So instead of negative 8, x plus 8, do the opposite of 8, negative 8. So this one here, we should be able to find over here as well. There's x squared minus 64. And then let's bring the positive 8 with it. And let's draw the negative 8 with it. And then you should be able to continue to do the other ones using that same idea. After you've done each one, just go ahead and deselect the circle. But they're all typed in ready for you just to make your life that little bit easier while you're doing this. Notice now I have 6 out of 15. That's good because I only did 6 of the questions so far. Once again, just check and remember what the tiles mean. Just remember there is a slight typo here. This is supposed to say negative x squared. The darkened ones are supposed to be negative. So as I'm looking at this picture here, I've got 1 square and 3 rectangles. So that would be x plus 3. Down the side, I got 1 square and 2 rectangles, but notice it's a different color. So that would be x minus 2, and it says that we are good. Stay strong. Alright, what do we got here? 3x squared plus 16x minus 12. So I think what we're going to need is, yeah, here we go. So we need this one for slide 25. And this time I didn't actually type it out. I'm going to make you guys type it out. The question is there so you can see it. So click on those x-intercepts, negative 6 and 0.667. Ooh, one of the special ones. So for 667, really it's 66666 repeated, but it rounds it up to a 7. So if I click on fraction here, just remember, keep going, unless you remember that this is 2/3. And if you don't remember, then you can see it here. So to check for the factors, do the opposites. So instead of negative 6, I'm going to do x plus 6. Notice it goes through negative 6, so that's a good sign so far. And then for the other one, that's positive 2/3, so the opposite would be negative 2/3. But remember that bottom number is going to move in front of the x. So it's going to make it 3x minus 2. And notice what happened here. There's the original graph. Here's what I think the answer is. And notice it's the same because it changed color. And that's how you're going to tell exactly which one it actually is. So x plus 6, 3x minus 2. And then we can check the answer. And we are good. Okay, also on here, it says that question 27 is going to ask us to do this. 10x squared minus 13x minus 3. And negative 0.2 and 1.5. So let me type both of those in. Negative 0.2, 1.5. Check to see what they are as fractions, and then we're going to use that to help us. So where it says negative 1/5, I'm going to put positive 1/5, but I'm now going to put the 5 on the bottom. I'm going to bring it to the front of the question. And once again, you can see that it goes through that intercept as well, so that's a good sign for this question. And for 3/2, do the opposite, do negative 3/2. That bottom number again, bring that to the front of the question. Notice what happened again. Can you see how it changes colour? So this we know is the correct answer. Part of the reason that we're trying to bring these to the front is, notice that 5x times 2x is 10x squared, which is exactly what it says here as well. So we're just trying to make sure we get exactly the correct graph here. So 5x plus 1, 2x minus 3, and you can just go ahead and fill those in here. Whoops. Let's put it inside those parentheses though. And I guess this one's not going to tell me if it's correct. Let me just quickly check to make sure. That is good. That one is good. I'm not quite sure why it doesn't share the answer for this one. Use slide 29 to answer this one. Okay. So this one, what we might have missed because I went through fairly quickly, is it said this is called a perfect square. Now, what happens on a perfect square is you only actually get one answer. So 1.5. So if I type in that 1.5, I get negative 3. I get 3/2. So as I write my fraction, instead of 3/2, I do negative 3/2. I bring the 2 to the front. But notice, this is not the same thing. And the reason it's not the same thing is here, I only have one factor, when for squared questions I should have two factors. So when I only have one answer, all I do is I just use the same answer twice. So 2x minus 3, and then use the same answer, 2x minus 3. And notice what happened, you have exactly the same graph here. And you could also write this, if I switch this off for a second, as 2x minus 3 all squared, as in parentheses, and notice that's also the same answer. The squared just means you multiply by itself as well. So let's see how they wrote it on this answer. Oops, it was the other way, wasn't it? There we go. So 2x minus 3, I'm going to try type in all squared, and we'll see if it likes that answer or not. Once again, it's just to leave your answer in there, so this one isn't one way you can check. I have checked, and it is correct. So 9x squared plus 42x plus 49, that's the one we can see here. So let's go ahead and type in that equation. 9x squared plus 42x plus 49. Once again, just one single root here. Negative 2.33. So, the one with 0.33, remember that's the one we're going to keep going. So it disappears, and then it comes back. So negative 7/3. So as we write out our answer, we do the opposite of negative 7/3, which is positive 7/3. Remember, all the questions with factor, that's where we're doing the opposites. And then instead of putting divide by 3, we bring the 3 to the front of the question. And as it only touched once, that means it must be the same answer 2 times. So 3x plus 7, 3x plus 7, and you can indeed see that that is the correct answer. So 3x plus 7. I could put all squared, or this time I'll just do the same one twice. I don't see a submit button, so I think we are good. Alright, we are heading to the end rapidly. A factored form of 16x squared minus 25y squared is... Now, the problem with this one is there's two different letters for this question. So we can't do it when there's two different letters. So all we're going to do is we're just going to ignore this second letter and then try and figure out what the answer is without it. So I'm going to look for my roots, negative 1.25 and 1.25. But I know I need them as fractions. So after each one, I'm going to hit that fraction button and work out what that gives us. So instead of negative 5/4, I'm going to do positive 5/4. But once again, that 4, the number on the bottom, moves to the front here. And same for this one, positive 5/4, do the opposite, which would be negative 5/4, and then bring that 4 up to the front. Now, as we try and work this out, what we notice is 4x times 4x. 4 times 4 is 16, x times x is x squared. That works pretty good. If I worked out this last term, 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. Notice that it's not negative 25y squared, but that's because we actually cut the second letter out. So once you have your answer, at the end, all you're going to do is you're just going to put that second letter back. But I think that will be enough for us to figure out what we're looking at here. So 4x plus 5, 4x minus 5. Let's take a look, see if we can see that as an answer. There we go. There's the 4 and the negative 5. There's the 4 and the positive 5. So notice this one, they both said plus, so it's not that one. This one, they both said negative, and it wasn't 16 and 25. We saw those numbers. So we can check that one. All right, last one. We got to pick all the factors for this one. Whenever we see that question, we know that there's going to be an extra one here in terms of the numbers. Rather than being 2 factors, there's probably going to be 3 factors. So let's go take a look and see if that's true. So I got negative 3, and I got 0.33. So 0.33, we probably know by now that this is 1/3, but let's just make sure. There we go. We can see that it's 1/3. So do the opposite as it says factor. So negative 1/3, but bring that 3 to the front of the question. The one that was negative 3, do the opposite. That will be x plus 3. But notice this time I'm not finished because this isn't actually the same graph. So I know this is the wrong answer right now. So perhaps there's a GCF. Let's take a look at the numbers. 6, 16, and negative 6. And you will notice that there is a GCF of 2. So if you put 2 at the start here, there you go. You can see that's exactly the same graph. And for that reason, you know you have the correct answer. So all we need to do is just pick those answers. 2, 3x minus 1, and x plus 3. And there is no checkbox for this one. There will be when I go to look, but for right now, that's it. And that's your last segment. That is section 3. That's how we're going to do factoring. A few special cases in there that you should take a look at because they sometimes get a little confused. But that's it for these video tutorials.